Welcome back to another video. If it's your first time here, my name is Beck. Welcome. Okay, so I've noticed recently that lots of my viewers are watching from the Philippines. So I thought it would be quite a nice idea if I were to do a pros and cons video about living in the UK. So my opinion won't be the same as somebody else's. I've lived in the UK for almost all of my 44 years of life. Do I look that old? The exception being when I worked on the ships, but between contracts I did come home. Sometimes I'd come home for a couple of weeks, sometimes it would be for 2 months until I had a new contract to go to. But that was the only time really, aside from quite a long holiday we had in the Philippines, but that, I suppose it doesn't really count. I like to think it does. It was quite a long holiday actually. We were there for about 8 weeks, so not your general run-of-the-mill 2 weeks holiday. Okay, so to start with, I'd probably put this at the top of the list, for me anyway. As I said, opinions are different. I would class the NHS as definitely on top of the list of pros for the UK. For those of you that don't know what it is a service that we get for free, but is it really for free? I don't think it is if you're a working person. Your tax and your national insurance contributions pay for the supporting of the NHS, which is fine. It's fine by me. Some people do like to complain about it, about waiting times, that sort of thing. But I think when you're having a free service, it's just one of those things. But I'm not here to talk about that. For me, it definitely is top of my list. The next thing I would say is education. Now, again, it's free from ages 3 right up to 18. And I think it depends again on where you live, because here in Wales where I live, children can start school at 3. So schools will take them, they'll be entitled to full-time education. It depends on the school. The school that I work in, for example, they take them at 3 years old. They start off, they do a week of part-time, and then straight after they go full-time. I have friends living in England where their children didn't start until the term that they were 5, so when they were 4 years old. But it, again, varies from area to area. What I would consider to be another pro is politeness. Now, people everywhere are polite, I know that, but I got a feeling that in the UK, we generally take it to another level. We want to queue for everything. I'll apologise to things, and lots of people do, when it's other people's fault. If I'm driving a car, for example, and somebody passes me and doesn't say thank you, I get really offended by that. Another pro I would consider would be affordable food. Now, not everybody will agree with me on this, but I do think that with all the supermarkets we've got here, things are generally cheaper than lots of other countries. Not the cheapest, I know that, but we generally will spend about £100 a week, and there's 5/6 when Jack is here or Megan is here, because both of them are flitting here, there and everywhere. But that is generally what we would spend. And the dog's making a really loud noise. Sorry, I can't tell her off because today is Happy Gotcha Day. So we've had the dog for 9 years today, yay! So where was I? Yeah, so I think that is really generous for what we get, and sometimes I spend less than that if I want to run the freezer down, or I'm only buying things for the freezer or for the fridge. Generally, it's that price. I don't go over that. I make a list every time I go shopping, so that probably helps as well. But compared to, for example, we went to France in the summer. Do you know, it was for one chicken that was cooked, €12.90. We can buy a cooked chicken here for £6. So in comparison, there's no competition for me. It wasn't just that was just an example. So next, I would say a really good thing about living here is that you get a national minimum wage. I will find out how much that is and pop it here or here. I don't know where. But you know that when you're going to work, you're going to get at least that amount, which is a good thing. It varies from age. So I think 16 to 18-year-olds are on a certain wage, and then 18 to 25, I think it is, are on something else. And then from 25 up, you get the actual national minimum wage for that age group. Something else I think is really good, and it might be noticeable more to me now because Megan travels a lot and Jack is travelling a lot. The travel is not that expensive if you look for the right way to do it. So we've got something here, and probably in other countries as well, called the Megabus. Now that for us is working out really cheap because we can use loyalty vouchers from Tesco, and that makes it just a booking fee if you've got money on there, which is amazing. I mean, a trip to London has cost something like £3.40 one way, and then you pay it, you know, whatever it is on the price back, which can be £3, or it could be cheaper, it can be more expensive. But generally the travel here is fairly reasonable. Trains, however, not so much, but that will possibly be a con. Flights. So because of where we are at the moment anyway, I don't know what's going to happen with all this Brexit, but that's another thing again, isn't it? So flights to places. You can pick up a flight, for example, to Spain, to France, to, I don't know, lots of places, Greece, anywhere in Europe, and the flight prices are reasonable. They can vary. Again, you can pick up things for £24.99 when there's offers on. There's deals to be had if you're looking for them. There's probably lots more things, but I'm going to move on to the cons, otherwise it's going to end up being a really long video. The weather. That is probably a con, I think. We get lots of rain. We don't get as much sunshine as other countries, but we don't get the bad weather that they get either. So we don't get the hurricanes, we don't get the monsoons, we don't get the typhoons, we don't get earthquakes. So even though it rains a lot, and it could be considered a con, we are quite lucky as well that we don't get, I mean, obviously some places do experience things like flooding, and bad things have happened weather-wise in places in the UK. But generally, we are quite lucky, even though it's a con. Okay, so another con would be household bills. I don't think people coming into the UK from other countries prepare themselves for the cost of living, in the sense that household bills and outgoings in general are really expensive. That is something you just haven't got a clue until you get here, because prices vary, but you need things like council tax to pay. You need to pay water rates or get a water meter. Either way, you need to pay for your water. You need a TV licence if you're watching TV. There are ways around that, but I don't know them enough to go into them. Insurance. Insurance is a big one because we tend to have insurance for lots of things here, and we do need it because you can't drive a car without insurance, or tax, come to that. You can't have a mortgage without insurance being in place, or at least you shouldn't not have it in place. You need to have life insurance if you've got a mortgage. So there's just insurance for everything. Pet insurance, there's just insurance for everything. Talking of pets, there's mine making a loud noise. So that is something that I would say definitely, if you are thinking of moving to the UK, take these things into consideration. Now, as I said about education being a plus, good point. University fees, they are very expensive. Now, you've gone from paying nothing to then paying, I think it's about £9,000 at the moment, tuition fees per year. So I think the minimum you study is 3 years. You can do more than that. It's all, you know, there's lots of things that are surrounding that I don't know enough about. But that is another thing that I think, even though it is a pro because it is expensive, one, it may not be as expensive as other countries, and two, you haven't had to pay anything for all the years that you've been educated, so it's not a bad thing. The alternative to university is apprenticeships. So not everybody has to go there. It's not for everyone, as I'm finding out with my children. And that it's a personal choice. So not something that everyone has to do, and it's not a compulsory thing, which is the same thing as not what everyone has to do. So my last con would be travel. I said cheap travel as a pro. On the flip side of that, you can have train travel, which is really expensive. I think there are different things on offer to people. You can get rail cards, or people can get discounts if they work for the companies, that sort of thing. So it makes it cheap or free then. Get a job in the rail service. But they are really expensive. We've been pricing up tickets recently, and it was almost £100 just to come from Blackpool to Cardiff, which you could do on a train for £30. It's a no-brainer. So for me, travel on trains is expensive. But like I said, my opinion, somebody else's is completely different, I expect. Anyway, that brings me to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, as always. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. If anybody has any comments, any questions, please drop them below and I will do my best to answer. Thank you.